Hi, my name is Nathan. This is Nice at Dice, and today I'm talking about MicroMacro Crime City. This is, according to the box, a cooperative detective game. In this, you are looking at a huge map with lots of details on it, and you are trying to find the evidence you need to solve some crimes. Let's take a look at how the game works, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it. All right, so this product comes with a very large paper fold-out map. It is a map of the city with lots of stuff going on. There's people all over the place, vehicles all over the place. It's a very busy map with lots of little detail. One of the things that's important to know about this map is that it isn't just like a snapshot of the city in a single moment, but it's like multiple snapshots of the city through time layered on top of each other. All right. So you have this huge map. That's the main component here. You also have a small magnifying glass that can maybe help you find some things on the map. And you have packets of cards. There's a total of 16 packets. Each packet is a case. The cases have ratings 1 star through 5 stars for the difficulty. And each of these packets of cards is basically going to have a number of cards, and each card is going to ask you a question that you have to answer by looking at the map. And if you can work through all the questions in a case, you have solved the case. I don't want to actually show you how it works with any of these cases because that would kind of spoil the part of the game for you. But it's kind of cool on the box. The background here is a part of the map. And in the top right corner here, it says get started right away. Solve your first case on this cover. Who murdered the burger vendor? So, I don't know how well this shows up on camera, and I don't know if using this magnifying glass, I think the magnifying glass isn't really going to help. So, I'll just see if I can kind of walk you through how this works. So, up here in this corner, this is the burger vendor. There's a big sign with a burger on it, so obviously that's it. There's a guy behind the counter here. He's clearly the burger vendor because he's selling the burgers. Here's the same guy coming out of this open door, and over here, peeking around this corner, is a floppy-eared rabbit with a mask on. You can see the same two characters down here, and if you follow all the way down here, you have the same two characters, except this time the floppy-eared rabbit is coming up behind him with a baseball bat. And if you look over here, here's the burger vendor lying on the ground dead. There's the baseball bat next to him. And here is the floppy-eared rabbit walking away from it, holding the handbag that the burger vendor was carrying earlier. So clearly, who murdered the burger vendor? Well, it was the floppy-eared rabbit with the mask. Now, in a case, that would be like the first question, maybe, and then the next question might be like, well, where did he escape to? What was his motive? What was in the handbag? Where did they leave the handbag? Like where did he hide the handbag? Right? So there'd be questions like that, and you have to solve a few different questions. The more difficult the case, the more questions you have to answer, and the more difficult the questions in order to solve it. All right, so hopefully that gives you a good idea of how MicroMacro Crime City works. Now, is it a fun game? Well, definitely, it is a fun game, I will say. My wife and I have played through a little more than half of the cases, so 9 or 10 out of the 16. We've played kind of, we started with the easier, like 1-star cases. We've played at least one of the 5-star cases now and everything in between. Like the last half of the cases are all those 4 or 5-star cases. And yeah, it's been interesting throughout. So one of the standout things about the game, obviously, is that huge map. And I think it strikes a really nice balance of when you look at the whole thing all together, it has so much detail. There's so many buildings and vehicles and just tons of little people walking around everywhere. But each element of the map is very simple. The buildings are just nice, clean lines. They're not complicated. The individual little characters are very simply drawn. But yet I also like how, even though the characters are simply drawn, they're all very distinct. There's rarely ever any confusion about if you're looking at the same person in 2 different places, because they're all very distinct in their appearance. So that's really good. The actual cases, it's very, it's very interesting. Just in the like example that I gave, and this is the key part of the game really is, so it was asking like who killed the burger vendor. So you saw the burger vendor and you saw him being followed around by this masked rabbit, and that's clearly suspicious. And then you saw the two of them crossing the street, and the rabbit had a baseball bat. And then you saw the burger vendor dead with the baseball bat next to him. And then you saw the rabbit walking away with the handbag that the vendor had been carrying. So you don't actually see the rabbit hit the burger vendor over the head with his baseball bat, but you can put all the pieces together, and figure out who did it. And basically the whole game is that kind of not just looking for these little details on the map, but it's also drawing the right conclusions. And that gets even more interesting and challenging when you get into the questions about like, well, what was the motive for the murder? How did this person escape the city after the murder? Things like that, right? So yeah, it's very interesting. It's been a lot of fun. I guess a couple of questions that people are going to have is like, how big of a group do you play with this? My wife and I have been having a lot of fun just doing it, the two of us. I think you could have, just as much fun doing it by yourself, maybe. Although it is kind of fun being able to bounce ideas off of, a partner, as far as like why you think, especially when you get to those things about like, well, what was the motive or whatever. And it's just kind of enjoyable, like enjoying each other's sort of aha moments when like they spot something that you didn't see, that's fun. So I think I like playing two players. I think you could play 3 or 4 players maybe, but more than that, it's going to be challenging because there's only so much room to kind of gather around the map and look at it. And I found even in our case, there was a time where I tried to go around like the other side of the table and look at it from the other direction. And now you're looking at everything upside down, and it just completely threw me off. So that's not really even an option. I mean, you can maybe get used to it, but I wouldn't recommend it. So you're looking at maybe 3, 4 people at the most, I think. Another question I think some people have is this a good family activity? I think that depends because it is called Crime City, and there is a lot of crime happening in this city, and it's a lot of people getting killed and robbed, and there's like clearly a flasher in the city. I mean, like he's opening his trench coat sort of away from the camera, so you don't see anything. But there's a guy opening his trench coat, and there's a woman like seeing him and having a reaction. So it's like there's a flasher in the city. There's like an art gallery that's having an exhibit, and there's at least 1, maybe 2, 3 paintings like on the walls in there that are clearly of like a naked woman. Again, the artwork is super simple. So it's not graphic or anything like that, but just those are just some things to be aware of that are on the map in this game. So you can make your own call whether that's right for your family, but just want to make you aware of what's in it. So overall, I'd say it's a very interesting activity. It lacks some things that I typically would associate with a game, quote unquote, like there's really no way to lose. Like if you keep looking, you're going to find the things you need to find to answer the questions to solve the case. There's no time limit. There's no way to get like a better score or anything like that. So sometimes it feels like it's really just more like an activity than a game, quote unquote. But I think that really boils down to semantics. It's not really important. The important thing is that it is a fun activity. Whether it's a game or not, in your opinion, it's still a fun thing to do. So I've enjoyed it. My wife has enjoyed it. We've enjoyed doing it together. I think it's pretty cool. I feel like there's a lot of potential in just the map that's provided to even release like maybe some digital expansions for the game that just give you new cases to solve. Because even with 16 cases, I feel like there's still stuff going on the map that are not going to be touched on with those cases. So maybe that's a possibility in the future. I don't know. But yeah, even with the 16 cases that are here, I think it'll be a really fun experience after having played through all of them. And yeah, so that's MicroMacro Crime City. My name is Nathan. Thanks so much for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day.